If you're learning French but you're avoiding reading French books because they look so insanely intimidating, then you need to stop that right now, because reading is going to make your French vocabulary go through the roof. And so in this video, I'm going to take you inside a fantastic list of French books that will make your journey to fluency a whole lot more fun. I've included a couple of books perfect for beginners and some to look out for when you reach a higher level. But realistically, most of these are best enjoyed if you know a little French already. Anywhere from kind of upper beginner and upwards. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ollie Richards, and this channel is all about helping you learn a new language quickly through the power of story, so you can become fluent faster and live your best life. Now let's check out these books. First of all, we have La Nuit des Temps, and this novel, this is a great novel. It tells the story of an earth-shattering discovery beneath the Antarctic ice. You could say it's a love story older than humanity itself. Intrigued? Well, it definitely has the power to stir up strong emotions, even when French isn't your first language. It makes a great first full-length novel in French for an upper beginner or lower intermediate level student, and it's an ideal choice if you want to practice that extensive reading. Now here's my recommendation, book number 2, 20 Lieues sous les mers. Now, does this sound familiar at all? I hope so, because this is one of the classic Jules Verne novels, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in English, and the day that you feel ready for the original French version of the novel is a good day. But here is something interesting. See, this masterpiece is a perfect example of how and how not to read extensively. This is full of nautical terms from the late 19th century. Now, these would obviously be mostly useless in modern day life, and the slightly old style of French can be a little bit tricky. So why read it? Well, frankly, because it's for the mad, escapist fun of the adventure. Just give it a go. If you find some archaic terms here and there, just don't worry about it. Keep going through. Remember that rule of story learning. Read to understand the plot. Don't get caught up in too many details. Instead, get caught up in the story. But if you're not quite there yet, ready for some of that more difficult stuff, here's an easier book for you. One that you might recognise. French Short Stories for Beginners by a certain Ollie Richards. Now, short stories are the perfect way to read French as a beginner. So I guess I must have had you in mind when I wrote this book. There are 8 stories altogether in a variety of different genres: science fiction, fantasy, crime, history, thrillers, and I think you will find them very enjoyable. Many thousands of people already have. Mostly because I made sure that the plots were really interesting, and I also chose the vocabulary rather strategically, so you can hear the 1,000 most common French words being used in an authentic way, as well as a nice challenging range of French vocabulary and grammar. And at the end of each story there's a glossary and a quiz, so you're going to find this a nice relaxing way to spend a good couple of hours learning French at a level you can understand. That's the approachable. Now this next one, well, it's something for a slightly higher level. L'Orphelin de Perdide. Now, perhaps the least well-known book on my list, but it's a good option if you're looking to attempt a short and simple full-length novel. This is a science fiction novel intended for French teenagers, but great for learners at an intermediate level. It tells the story of a small boy stranded on a hostile planet. So you'll already know whether this is your kind of thing or not. The style is authentic, but easy to understand, making it accessible to you if your French is progressing and you want a nice challenge. But speaking of learning French, here is a great French learning hack for you. Wait for it. That's right, like and subscribe to this channel. That's the hack. Don't ask me how it works. That's called science. But now let's move on to something a little bit harder. This is more at an intermediate level, and it is L'étranger. Now, this is a very cool choice if you already have a decent level of French and you're looking for something a little bit more modern to read. It's about a French Algerian estranged from society. There's murder, Asperger's syndrome, existentialism, some pretty deep stuff. While the style of writing is simple enough to make it easy to understand, the subjects it deals with are deep and very thought-provoking, which is good because it encourages you to really engage with the contents of the book, and that's why I recommend this for intermediate learners. In fact, if you're looking for an accessible introduction to modern French literature, then this could be the ideal place to start. Now, I also have here a book for upper intermediate to advanced learners, and I know this video is all about beginners, but the thing is, we want choice, right? And this book here, L'Amant. Now, this is fantastic. Did you ever watch the English film The Lover? Well, this is the original French book. It's the story of an illicit affair between a French girl born in colonial Vietnam and a local Chinese Vietnamese businessman. It is a double scandal, but you will learn about the flavor of life in French Vietnam while exploring the attitudes of the day. And this book is a challenge to read, right? So I don't recommend it for you if your level is less than intermediate, for sure. But what I'm trying to do is give you some stuff that's going to make you think, some stuff that's going to make you go, yes, I really want to read that. So if you feel like your French is strong and you're ready for a challenge, then you really can't go wrong with this one. Now we're going to leap into another category of fantastic French books. And I have a feeling you won't be expecting this one. So just trust me here. This one is Persepolis. Now, Persepolis is a graphic memoir of growing up in Iran during the Islamic Revolution. The version I tried to get is a comic. This one actually is kind of a mix, but you can get the comic version. It's a perfect way to start reading if you want something that's a little bit less intimidating than a book. And if you didn't know, French comics are super popular. They cover all kinds of genres, from like superheroes to history, politics, all kinds of stuff. So Persepolis is a great way to increase your proficiency in French. It's wise, it's funny, it's heartbreaking, and it really paints an unforgettable portrait of life in Iran from a child's viewpoint. Again, something that's nice and meaty. And if you like this, you're going to absolutely love this, L'Arabe du Futur. Now, this is a graphic novel in which the author recounts his youth in Gaddafi's Libya and in al-Assad's Syria. Now, the author, he grew up in the cult of the great Arab dictators, symbols of modernity and manly power. And as a young boy, he discovers the harshness of traditional peasant life when even his cousins manhandle him. Now, one of the problems is that he is actually blonde, which is not very helpful. But so this is a very interesting, very engaging book. And if you fancy something in the more kind of comic style, then you're really going to like this. Now, the next book, people always complain when I mention this, but I'm not going to back off. I'm going to mention this, Le Petit Prince. And of course, this is the beloved children's classic from 1943. Suitable for you if you're an upper beginner. I think it's a philosophical fable about a boy who travels to different planets, reflecting on the human condition. And although it's written for children, the story is deceptively deep and contemplative. But as an adult reader, you'll find a lot to appreciate here. Now, the writing here, as everybody points out, people say, like, I don't know why you keep recommending Le Petit Prince for beginners, because it does have some challenging stuff in here. Some of the vocabulary is a little advanced. But since the story is quite short and simple, you will still find it accessible once you know a little bit of French. So really, I think it had to be in there. But now let's try something that's also fairly light. Here is a comic book series with a modern female heroine. So number 10 on my list is Joséphine. Now, this is a fun one for the women out there. Joséphine is a woman in her 30s who has lots of misfortunes, which she is often responsible for. She has neither a husband or children, but she has a cat, a sister, parents, friends, and above all, some very funny adventures. As a character, Joséphine is horribly human and divinely funny. I mean, who else calls their cat Brad Pitt? I mean, seriously. This is probably not for you if you're under 18, so parents beware, but it's a fantastic book. And now finally, number 11. I've saved this one for last because it's made up of actual French dialogue, but this book often gets misunderstood for just a collection of like textbook dialogues, but actually this tells a riveting story. It's 101 Conversations in Simple French by yours truly, and it is perfect for beginners, probably more so than any of the other books we've seen here. It is an authentic conversation over 101 parts between 6 French characters, and what you will do in this book is you'll immerse yourself in a really gripping drama and get an education in natural French in the process. Now, in this story, 2 friends arrive in Paris for what they think will be a relaxing holiday in the city, but things take an unexpected turn when they discover some very valuable paintings in one of Paris's antique markets. It's super fun, and many of my students like to use this book to practice conversations with a friend, reading aloud, which is a very good use for it. Why not? So I hope you found this video helpful. I'd love it if you leave me a comment so I know what's working. And if you're in the mood, why not check out my French beginner course, French Uncovered, that's built entirely on an exciting mystery story. But as you're reading, one of the big questions you're going to have is, well, how can I learn vocabulary from what I'm reading? It's all very well reading and learning all this stuff, but how do I make sure I remember it? Well, in this video, I give you my entire strategy for learning and memorizing the words that you read in stories. It's very practical, answers some of the most common questions about how to learn vocabulary with story learning. So go and check that video out right now.